What's up, everybody? What's up, Ryan, Randy, Andre? How you guys doing?
Somebody told you a joke while the music was playing.
Oh man, I didn't see it go live, so I clicked the button.
We are live.
Usually takes a few seconds, but
we're live. That's what's up.
We're live now. That's for sure. How are you, gentlemen? Welcome to
new information, right?
Welcome to a show where we tell you something new.
Yeah.
So we're here at the Security Squawk Podcast. We're on a live broadcast today. Welcome. Today is somewhere around November 29, 2022. And we got a lot of stuff to cover today. Not a ton of news. Not a ton of different news. It's kind of all the same news. There's still ransomware attacks. There's still cyber attacks. There's still lots of malware. There's a lot of things happening in the cyber criminal community. They're always changing tactics, as we mentioned, but they're really starting to make some big changes to how they exploit companies, deploy ransomware, whether they do ransomware or not. It's kind of all over the map right now. So we're going to kind of touch on that a little bit with the various things we talk about today, but we're going to cover TikTok because there's some interesting malware going on around that. DraftKings, very popular fantasy betting platform and sportsbook. There's something that happened over there that people need to be made aware of, and how these things go down and how they can be related to your business and happen in your business, similar types of attacks. Google Chrome, notorious these days for being exploited. We're going to cover what's going on there and why things are important and what you need to look out for to be a safe user of Google Chrome. I guess that's fair to say. We also got WhatsApp, and we got some Chinese equipment that's very popular. It's probably, if you have a camera system in your office, there's a very good chance that you have one of these devices in your office. And we're going to talk about why the U.S. placed a ban on those devices this week. So without further ado, gentlemen, fee for the show, share our show, right? You know, we do not run ads. We don't do ads as part of the show. We don't break up the content with ads. And we certainly don't promote any products on this show. Simply bring you the goods. We bring you the education. You obviously, when we do go live, which we are live today, you can drop questions in the comments. If we do see them, we'll throw them up on the screen. We'll try to answer. We just ask that you make them relevant to the topic that we're covering. And that's really about it. Just share our show with your friends and family. And if you're so inclined, leave us a positive review on your favorite podcasting platform. So, guys, we got TikTok malware. Really strange. It's getting a lot of coverage, obviously, because I think it's just TikTok, and I think everybody and their grandmom's on TikTok these days. And it says the hackers are exploiting TikTok's invisible body challenge to spread malware that can steal passwords and credit card details. And it's a trending challenge on TikTok. It's encouraging users to film themselves naked and then use TikTok's invisible body filter to replace their body with a blurry background. The hackers are exploiting this trend by posting videos that offer to remove the filter, tricking people into thinking they will see a naked body instead. However, all they will really get in return is a piece of malware that can be used to steal Discord account information, as first discovered by security firm Checkmarx. What do you guys think about this?
I think that no part of this sounds like a good idea for people. I mean,
people getting tricked.
TikTok has its own privacy concerns even without any of this, but yeah, I mean, it's a good tactic by the bad guys. I mean, you know, they're obviously roping people in under the premise of being able to see naked people.
I mean,
but it just boggles my mind that some people click on this stuff.
But even forget about the clicking. I mean, let's just talk. Like, the elephant in the room is,
why are you doing this in the first place?
You're filming yourself naked and then relying on a filter to make sure that you stay naked. And we all know that TikTok gets your name, your email address, your location, and all they have to do is take this filter off, and you're in trouble. You know, it just
like I said, none of this seems like a good idea. The hacking stuff, the stuff to get there.
No, and we already know that there are extreme privacy issues with TikTok.
Yeah.
We know that your average bloke who works for TikTok potentially has access to all of your data. We know that it's a big, huge mess over there.
Is that a role at TikTok, bloke? Is that like
I haven't heard anybody actively use that for a long time.
Just curious.
It's just it just means guy in Australian. And it's basically, just your average person over there that works there has access to stuff. And, the American app stores are kind of turning a blind eye to all that. That's a whole nother story. Don't get me started. I'm this far from being started. But bottom line, yeah, Ryan.
You're one sip of Monster away from being
started. Right. Ryan and Andre already said it, but gosh, what a horrible idea in the first place, even if there were no hackers. Because people on the employee side over there, high chance they're looking at it. I mean, we don't know that for sure. But we know that there's been a problem with accessing private data. So just my opinion. Hopefully it doesn't get me sued. So
did you just say private data?
I said, we've heard that. Yes.
So I don't know. It's just hilarious to me that we even have to talk about the fact that people are being tricked into thinking whether a certain filter will work, right? Because now the joke's out, right? The filter can malware can be spread by just telling people, hey, we can remove this or that filter, or manipulate the TikTok in some way, shape, or form, and people are falling for it. It's the new phishing for social media at the end of the day, right? So, I always go to, how do people protect themselves around this stuff? Like, what would be our advice to protect yourself from this? And I'm going to kind of cheat here and say, you can't say stay off TikTok. If you are a TikTok user, how do you protect yourself? Like,
I think it goes across the board. It's not just TikTok, but use common sense. I mean, this isn't anything new. I'm just thinking, like, going back to, people trying to download, license keys for software so that they can pirate it and getting, viruses that way, or getting free video games and stuff like that. It's really no different than that. It's trying to get something that you don't have that sounds enticing to the point where you download it and run it without thinking twice about it, and then you get hit and regret it.
It's an old adage, like, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. If it's salacious, there's probably there's a high chance that it's got something bad attached to it from a malware standpoint. Anything they can do to get you out of the logical, where you're just thinking with your emotions, getting you out of the logical and, not thinking rationally, you're vulnerable. That they rely on that tactic all the time. They do that in psyops when they are, when your business is under malware, they make something weird come up on your website, and you think they're in everything. Anything they can do to get you out of the logical and into the emotional, they want to do that and take advantage of it.
I mean, Brian, I know you said not have TikTok, but let's just talk about on the business side. You allow your employees to have TikTok on a company device, or vice versa, even their emails on their personal device with TikTok. Extortion is on its way. It's going to happen in a year from now, where they're going to, like, hey, we have naked pictures of you or videos, whatever you were doing. And if you don't give us this company information, or give us this login, or, download this on this computer, we're.
Is that me or you or him?
No, he froze.
Dang, he was going to say something. It always happens that way. He was going to say something.
Things only happen when you're getting to the meat of the conversation.
Some bloke over at where just
TikTok just shut him down.
Yeah. So that's what happens when we're live, right? So, interesting thing for me is, and we're right in the sense that, a lot of this stuff is all based around the same premise. You're getting something that sounds too good to be true for free. You're getting it for free, and software scams, software scams
for it.
Yeah, software scams. But as Andre was rightfully pointing out, like, what happens if you don't restrict the use of TikTok on your company device, and you're a company that happens to use Discord? Just speaking about this case in particular, what if your company uses Discord to chat? Right now, I can steal the keys to your Discord, and then I could pretend like I'm somebody that works at your company. You would know no difference, and I'm sending out links and emails, and those links and emails are going to other types of malware, other command and control things like Cobalt Strike and things like that.
Yep.
That's how it goes down. Welcome back, Andre.
Never talking bad about TikTok again.
Did they call you?
They changed my DNS records, apparently.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good point there, what you were talking about. I mean, this, if somebody could impersonate you, use your keys to get into your Discords and impersonate you on Discord, once again, it goes back to that thing. They always want to get a little bit of trust. And, if they can pretend to be you because they got your keys, and then now they're pretending to be you on Discord, there's no telling, what would happen.
So that's what's happening over at TikTok. You're now getting malware at TikTok, just like you used to get malware when you used Napster.
And MySpace.
MySpace. And Kazaa, right?
That was. I knew there was another one I was trying to remember, but I couldn't think of what it was.
Kazaa was where it was at. That's what, when I worked at the Navy, everybody had Kazaa. They were constantly downloading music all day long. Yeah.
Wow.
So we got our friends over at DraftKings are dealing with an issue as well. And I guess we want to talk about this. I know a lot of people that they're either using FanDuel or DraftKings. I don't know that, the level of detail of who's more popular, who's not. It seems to me like DraftKings has had a lot more issues from a technical standpoint than the other one. But hackers steal $300,000 in DraftKings credentials stuffing attack. And why we want to talk about this is because we talk about certain things on this show all the time that you should and shouldn't do. And this right here is how it wasn't so much that DraftKings lost $300,000 or one person lost $300,000, but it appears to me, based on what I'm reading, and I did a high-level reading of this one, so if somebody has more detail than me, it sounds like they used passwords that were available somewhere.
That's DraftKings story anyway.
Logged into these accounts and moved that money unbeknownst to the person because they had no idea somebody was logging into their DraftKings account. So let's talk about all the things wrong with everything I just said there.
Well, and so again, I just want to stress this is what DraftKings is stating at this point. They're claiming that they found no evidence that their systems were breached or compromised, and this is basically a hypothesis. It looks like that how this happened. The side note to that, and I realize they probably have plenty of funds to cover this. It is a little bit of a question to me why DraftKings is making those customer accounts whole. If they weren't the cause,
because they're making money hand over fist, and $300,000 to them is a marketing expense.
It's not. Yeah, it's not a glaring red flag. It does pose the question. But yeah, they.
I think
their customers.
I don't know. Depending on, let's say it's 1,000 customers, or let's say it's 30,000 customers. They lost an average of 1,000 apiece.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Would you spend $300,000 to retain 30,000 customers? I think that's kind of a no-brainer, right? So, I mean, they probably lose more in, the crazy, the they probably spend more. I don't want to say lose more. They probably spend more
Mhm.
in, the rebates they give people, but,
Yeah, I mean, I would be concerned about the optics of it as well, but I guess for this particular type of company, I think it's probably a little bit different.
no. But again, the FBI has warned recently that these attacks are growing in volume thanks to these readily available aggregated lists of credentials. So we're at the probably, I don't know if we're at the precipice, but we're at the point now where all these breaches that we talk about on this show, where data is stolen, it's like, what do they do with this data? Well, now I said it, it's only going to be a matter of time before people figure out how to monetize this data in different ways.
Yep.
And this is one of the ways that they're going to
Yep.
do it, is they're going to figure out, does this person have an account at Bank of America? Does this person have an account at Venmo? Does this person have an account at DraftKings? And they're going to go through and try to log into all these accounts and see what they can get at. And it doesn't take a whole lot for somebody to take over your Venmo account or take over your DraftKings account and then add their account into your account, so they can just take whatever balance you have in those accounts and move it to their account.
And that's
Very
what happened
similar.
in this case.
Very similar activity to what we see with crypto, and wallets getting stolen and information and people logging into, like exchange accounts like Coinbase and Binance and moving money out of wallets unbeknownst to people because they use the same damn password and they don't put multi-factor authentication on. And those are the two things that you need to be doing to protect your accounts.
And what's the first thing that the bad guys do when they gain access to that account? They turn on NMFA, where they have,
so you can't get back in.
They block you out of getting it. So
It says that they did that.
And shame on DraftKings. I mean, legal sports betting in this scale is fairly new, last 3 or 4 years. Now we're seeing MGM and all of these other companies starting to do it. So this is like born in the cloud. There should have been no reason why, when you're setting up that account, 2FA is not set up and it knows your location. So that way, if someone else on the other side of the country logs in, DraftKings says, nope, we're going to pause this until we investigate it or you call us or whatever.
Pretty much all of these companies that are cloud-based need to start enforcing that and requiring it. Beginning, we talked about this in the green room, beginning of 2022. Andre called it, said 2022 is a year of MFA. I've seen this over and over and over again with people, even like with their Facebook accounts. They don't have an MFA set up. The bad actor gets in there. The first thing they do is they change the phone number and they set up MFA, and then boom, you're locked out. And that's what they did here in this particular case. One interesting thing at the end of the article, it mentions that 3/4 of all login attempts are malicious based on traffic scans going across the internet. Not 3/4, I'm sorry, 1/3 of all login attempts are malicious. So
it's also at the end of the article that it points out that Okta, who's also had a little issue this year as well, that Okta reported that the situation, meaning the credential stuffing situation, has drastically worsened this year, as it recorded more than 10 billion credential stuffing events on its platform during the first 3 months of 2022. So you're looking at like 40 billion a year average credential stuffing events that happen just on the Okta platform. That's just one little tiny platform in the interwebs, right? So pretty wild. But even the company doing the reporting has had their fair share of issues recently. So interesting stuff. So lessons learned here are: use a password manager. Don't use the same password over and over again, and set up your multi-factor authentication on your accounts. We are still in a place where companies have the option to allow you to turn that on or off out of convenience. It's still optional. Nobody's making them do that. They offer the technology. You can turn it on or off. My theory is they don't force people to do it because they know they have less people logging in when they enable these types of things or when they require them. So they want to
people calling their support lines because they can't figure it out.
Right. I lost my two-factor code, but so it costs them more money to implement something like this. And I just think it's easier for somebody to log in to place a bet, on a system like this with one password then I got to go get a 6-digit code, right? We're talking about a difference of maybe 10, 15 seconds, and people hate that kind of stuff and will not use the platform and go somewhere else because they don't have to do that. So it's kind of the world we live in. And, moving right along, we have Google Chrome, which everybody's using to access these sites, right? Either using a browser or using maybe a Google phone, which is basically a Chromium-based device. Have a couple things going on with Google Chrome. Rye, you like to talk about their 0 days. So
Google's had a bad year.
Why don't you update everybody on their 0-day update for Chrome, and then we'll pop into why using certain Chrome extensions are a bad idea.
I already had the extension one popped up. Can I
go ahead? Talk about that too.
So what I think is interesting about this one, it kind of segues to our prior conversation. So this one is an information stealing Chrome browser that is being used to steal cryptocurrency, passwords, things like that. So it's grabbing all of that information that people tend to store in their browser, thinking it's safe, but it's just sitting there waiting for somebody to pluck it clean. Now, the interesting thing about this is the main distribution channel for this particular extension is game cracks and software product activators, which we were just talking about. So again, the kind of the oldest trick in the book of enticing somebody with something free and then hitting you afterwards by installing an extension that ends up stealing your data. So extensions in browsers is really not something overlooked. This is something that we see a lot, doing all sorts of different things because people don't really know. They see these extension things pop up quite frequently, so they're kind of immune to them, and they don't ask questions. They just let them run. So that would have been my question: is, hey, if you're running something for a software cracker and it asks to install an extension in your Chrome browser, at that point you'd think you'd ask a question, but that's us. That's not necessarily the average user. And then that goes along with the second Google Chrome story where they've issued another emergency Chrome update to fix their 8th 0-day in 2022. And I think when we were talking about this in the green room beforehand, Randy phrased it really, really well. Their 8th published 0-day.
Yeah.
This is the 8th one that we know about. So they've had a lot of these this year in particular, and you really have to watch out for these. Vulnerability 0 days are issues in the code that allow somebody to exploit a vulnerability and do any number of things. So a 0 day is one.
Mainly gain administrative control over the system.
Yep.
Mainly.
Yep. So this is a lot for one particular software in a given year. And again, this is
and I think that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that you get Windows, right?
Mm-hmm.
Computer operating system comes with software, pre-installed on it a lot of times. But installing a piece of software like Google Chrome, third party, usually not installed with Windows by default, or any kind of software for that matter. You download software for your printer, right? I think people miss the fact that these pieces of software, whether you have admin rights on your computer or not, if these vulnerabilities exist and can be exploited, that piece of software can lead to somebody controlling your entire operating system. I think that gets lost on people, that Google Chrome being on the system and then it being exploited can give them that level of control over the system. They think maybe they think it ends at like Google Chrome. They can do things in my Google Chrome. Well, no, they can literally manipulate your system to the point where they could potentially get access to other systems on your network, or they could deploy ransomware. They can do a lot of different things by exploiting, this code that Ryan mentioned that is bad inside of the system. And that's simply because these pieces of software have certain components that run so close to the processor, the kernel, the very deep bones of of the computer hardware. They run so close to that if they can be exploited, there's not much there or in between that's going to stop it. So that's kind of it in layman's terms. So,
and the software is getting so complex every day that there's
Right.
just that much more room for these mistakes and errors that become vulnerabilities to occur.
Yep. Anything else you gentlemen want to add on the Google Chrome?
I mean, I was just going to say, I mean, it's one of the most popular browsers. I think it's the most popular. So, I mean, it just being so ubiquitous across the internet, there's going to be opportunities for the bad guys to get in. They're going to be looking for ways to get in. Also would say this would be prevented if you had some sort of process control on installed on your computer, which is available out there if you're working with a company like one of ours. And a technician would be able to see that it's something malicious, even though it says Google Sheets 2.1 as the name of the plugin. You know, they'd still be able to see that it's malicious. So anyway,
and I just did a quick search: 77% market share for Google Chrome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah. That's 100% right. So, Andre, you good?
77%, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, guys. So, another popular app, WhatsApp. That's Facebook, right? WhatsApp.
Yeah, they're owned by Facebook.
So, I mean, I know this has happened before, and I don't know if we're talking about new stuff here, but on my board, I have WhatsApp and 500 million user records up for sale.
Yep.
It's kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier with, DraftKings and all this data, right? So what's going on here? WhatsApp data breach.
I mean, basically, it's just about the users. Basically, phone numbers were released, so it doesn't look like, which they had to get that from the back end, but it doesn't look like that they had access, or that they have, at least they've not publicized that they had access to actual messages.
Mm-hmm.
WhatsApp uses end-to-end encryption, and supposedly it's a zero knowledge, which means that Facebook doesn't know the keys to unencrypt. It's based on, the two devices that are talking. So, we don't have evidence that they were able to get to messages, but the fact that they were able to get to numbers, once again, you put that in the hands of the wrong people. They do a cross list, a cross check for other data they have. They put two and two together. And next thing you know, you get a message from, on your WhatsApp from somebody, and you think it's
not
legit.
even. You get it directly to your text message.
Yep.
Right.
Right. I mean, because that's the frustrating thing for a WhatsApp user is you have to have a mobile number associated with it. So if they were able to kind of pull 500 million records from them, this reeks of a future smishing, massive smishing campaign. Yep. Like you said, Randy, targeted and then not targeted, just massive blasting out numbers that they know are valid and hoping that they can get people to click on things.
You literally could send out, I don't mean to give the bad guys ideas, but you send 500 million people a link that just says, holy crap, your WhatsApp's broken. Click here and give us the info so we can figure it.
Yeah. Exactly.
People would click on that.
Click here to download a tool to remove the filter from TikTok and see people naked.
There you go.
It'll fix your WhatsApp, remove the filter, and fix your Discord.
It's going full circle.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect example of corporate responsibility, because of course WhatsApp right now is denying that it happened, right? But they should now reverse this, like a reverse text that says, possible breach. Be aware for phishing. We will never ask you for your phone number, your credit card, nothing like that. But this is the time where WhatsApp needs to be proactive and just spreading the news to say, be careful, because there is a possibility that something has happened and we will never ask you for XYZ. But of course, they're just going to deny it, keep their mouth shut. And maybe in Christmas of this year, they're going to say, yeah, a little information did get out.
Yeah, I mean, and these guys are. I mean, I just know from doing other research, like the types of credential stealing that is important to these guys is this kind of stuff, is having access to WhatsApp, having the ability to dismiss you while also knowing that you have PayPal accounts, like Randy said, and Amazon accounts. And once they figure all this stuff out, they craft these messages to be way more real. So you're when your guard's down, you think it's something legit. I mean, think about all the Amazon text messages that could go out over the next month just because it's the holidays and people wanting updates on tracking information, or you get some random Amazon message that says, hey, your shipment's been delayed, or your package has been delayed, click here. And then you're clicking there thinking it's taking you to Amazon. This is all stuff that's going to be coming, and you need to be aware of it. And quite frankly, today, like for me personally, the way that I run my phone, not much comes through on my text message. And if it does, it's not something from family or my wife, I'm more than likely deleting it, because nobody gets this number for anything. I give them a different number when I sign up for different accounts and stuff like this. That's what I decided to do, because I'm like, look, if this one number gets out, so what? I can get text messages on it, but I'm not sitting there. It's not going to come to my phone. It goes to a different place. And, I still get it, but it doesn't come to my phone. And I'm not going to sit there and, accidentally click it, or it was in my pocket and happened to click it, because that can happen too, right? Mm-hmm. You get a preview of the message and it's in your pocket, and for somehow the phone thinks you clicked that link and it was really just a pocket rub. That can happen, right? So,
and just to take a step further, too, something that Randy mentioned about how they cross-reference this information. So I think a lot of people might look at this and go, oh, big deal. They only got the phone numbers. They don't know it's my phone number. They don't know who it belongs to. But all of these other breaches that have occurred out there, like how hard is it for them to take that information and then match it up and find another breach that included a phone number and a name and an email address? And now all of a sudden they've got all of these different means to reach out to you and make it seem more realistic.
Yeah, I had a conversation this morning with a client, and in that conversation, they said, we're probably not a big target, but I know we are like a target. And I'm like, you're just as much of a target as somebody else. Mm-hmm. You're an address. Like, think about it this way. You live on a street, all the houses look exactly the same. That's what it looks like to a cyber criminal. You have an address.
Opportunity.
They don't know what you have until they get into your house. So once they get into your house, their mission is accomplished. It's now like, let's just rummage through and see what valuable stuff they have now. But from the outside looking in, these guys don't know if you have $5 worth of stuff inside your house or $5 million worth of stuff. But they want to find out. So they're going to break in to find out, right? Now, once they get there, people will minimize what they actually have until you show it to them. And, people do that with their own homes. Oh, we don't have that much in our house, until you remember you have, a box in your room with a bunch of jewelry. And, when you start to add that up, it is a lot, right? And if you had to replace all of that out of pocket, that's why people have homeowners insurance. Yeah. So, that's that. Anything else you want to add?
I just say think of it like a big parking lot, and somebody's going through and checking doors. It's
100%.
You're not the specific target, but if you didn't lock your doors, you're the target of opportunity.
That's right. And they're managing to do damage to people think they have nothing, but they find out quickly that they have something of value and something that they should be protecting.
Which could be as simple as information, which they're using to get even more valuable stuff down the road.
Yep. That's why the FTC is coming out with the FTC rules, because there's so many companies that deal with information that don't feel or handle it like it's sensitive. And I think that perspective is changing ever so slowly. So I want to bring attention to our final topic, which is one we wanted to talk about because I think we all agreed that at some point along the way in our travels, we've all seen this equipment in clients' offices, businesses, maybe even their homes. But a lot of popular CCTV or cameras that you might have in your office are made by these brands. And the U.S. has recently banned sales of these devices. And I wonder how that impacts like security installers who may have already purchased this equipment as inventory to install in future projects.
Well, it says that they banned the sale of it. I don't know that they banned the use of it if you already have it.
Use, right. But if you're a closed circuit TV camera installer and you have this equipment in inventory because you do X amount of projects a year.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also important if you've already installed it too, because the damage may already be done.
Well, that's the second part of this, right? I was just kind of pondering as I'm reading this, and I have a friend who installs these things. I was wondering, like, I wonder if he knows he can't sell these anymore and he has to go find something else. That's one piece of it. And number two is, if you have it, you could potentially, and I've talked about this before 100 times, like these devices are highly questionable, vulnerable, definitely not secure. I've messed around with the interface myself, 10, 15 years ago, and they haven't changed much in 10 and 15 years. So go through. Do you guys have it up? I don't have it up, so I don't know if you can go through the list of.
I have it up. I don't know that I can pronounce all of these.
Right. So it's a lot of Chinese companies. We kind of already knew that this chip ban was coming. It is more of a chip ban, but these chips happen to be popular in these manufacturers' devices. And some of these manufacturers make cameras and DVRs for closed circuit TVs, but they also make a ton of other things. So don't just think, you got to be worried about your cameras and DVRs. If you have any equipment from these manufacturers, you might, I know Huawei, right? They make communication type chips. They used to put them in cell phones, but they may put them in other things that require, like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or cellular communication. So what we're talking about? Huawei,
ZTE, Hytera, Hikvision, and Dahua.
Yeah, I know ZTE is definitely another CCTV manufacturer.
And I think there's other brands too that aren't even on this list that are like even more budget brands. Like I've seen businesses that got the Costco special. Those should be a concern as well. I mean, and those always were, but they're not something that has met the scrutiny of this to make this list. But you got to be careful with what you're putting in your environments.
You got to be careful what you're putting in your environments, number one. And then number two is you have to make sure that you know what these devices are, that you're putting something in place to make sure that they're updated. And
the access to touch other things.
Right. If you have these in your environment, number one, make sure you're talking to somebody about segregating them from your network. There's a lot of issues here with businesses that they're not aware of, right? Number one, usually camera installers expose these suckers to the internet or expose the DVR to the internet without even one thought about security. The other thing is that there's this wonderful search engine called Shodan that if I wanted to find a Hikvision DVR exposed to the internet, I go over to the search engine called Shodan and I tell it to show me every single Hikvision device that's exposed to the internet in the world, and it's going to tell me. And then I go through one by one. I guarantee you if I did that search result just on Hikvision, I'd probably get over 1 million returns around the world.
And a fair percentage that are running on default Usernames and passwords too.
Admin and ABCD or ABCD 1 2 3 4.
You just Google the username and password for the Hikvision model that you're looking
Right.
at, and you're in. And then if that doesn't work, I just hop over the dark web once I figure out what kind of company owns that IP address and start looking for usernames and passwords there and brute force it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, okay, so I told you about all that. Now, what happens if I can exploit this device, right? If I can exploit this device, I might be able to take advantage of something else on your network that's vulnerable. Because chances are, if you're not updating this, you're probably not updating something else. The important thing is just like, I don't know, Colonial Pipeline had a way in through compromised credentials and an open VPN. This is another way in. That's how you have to think of it. And it's not any less of a risk because it's not VPN. It's the same level of risk. Anything else you guys want to add other than the fact that the U.S. is claiming that a lot of these chips are reporting back to? So even if you don't have it exposed to the firewall, you could be vulnerable.
Yeah, I found an article where, because we've all heard about this Hikvision, but I found an article. 2021 was when FCC initially was warning everyone, be careful. And now here in November 2022, they're finally enforcing it. So same thing, kind of like a circle, is going to happen with that TikTok, where FCC last month, we talked about it on our first week of November, that they're warning like, hey, TikTok is bad, and just wait and see again.
You said you weren't going to talk about them again. You're going to get booted.
All right, so we got 5 minutes left. We got one question on the board, and it's more of a generalized, and it's probably a good way to wrap up this show. On the topic of criminals taking advantage of online shopping this time of year, what do you all think is the number one thing we should watch out for while shopping online this year?
I got an idea. So I say make a habit of going directly to where you want to go. So, and I just do this without even thinking, but if you see an ad for MacBooks at Best Buy, rather than clicking the ad and following the link, just go to bestbuy.com and then search MacBooks and find what you want. But just that whole idea of not trusting anything, including an ad, especially if the ad has, fonts on the picture that don't match. They look obviously, like a designer didn't put it together, but, if a designer didn't put it together, it could have been a criminal. That's what I would say. That'd be my piece of advice, is just go directly to the sites you're interested in.
Agreed. And beware of deals that look too good to be true.
Yeah, we kind of talked about that last week. We talked about that last week with, thinking you got a TV, 65-inch TV for the price of shipping, and they're just stealing your credit card, things like that. And it exactly goes back to what Randy said. My fear is that they'll start, buying ad space or figuring out how to, get ads inserted into the page you're looking for, thinking it's, some Black Friday deal or, some kind of Christmas, some kind of Christmas deal. When you click on it, it takes you to, a page controlled by a scammer or cyber criminal to get you to do something no different than, when you get those pop-ups in your computer from your browser saying you have malware, and it's not. It's just a little browser window that popped up, and you just have to close it, and it goes away. These ads are the same thing. They're just trying to get you to click on something so you then, are now in the top of funnel of their scam. And they hope you continue to go down that funnel so they can actually try to get on your computer and scam you, or get you to go buy gift cards, or get you to, send them too much money where then they have to give you a refund, but they got a remote in your computer to give you a refund. These are all the things you got to look out for, because if it gets that far down the funnel, you need to think twice and think, like, is this really happening? Do I really need to give this person access to my account or my computer? Those are the things you need to be watching out for, because that's how it's happening. Andre, nothing? Good.
No, you guys all said it, man. Just be careful for the Zells. I'll go back to the Zells. Be careful for the Zells. Yours truly.
What's the Zells again? I forget.
Yeah.
What's the?
Well, basically, you're gonna get a text or a phone call.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay. Text message from Zelle.
Yep.
Same with Venmo, right?
Yeah. Any of them. Yeah. PayPal, all of them. Yep.
So that's good stuff. So we made it through Thanksgiving. We'll probably hear about the Thanksgiving breaches next week.
Yep.
As they start to come out this week and next. And then we're heading into Christmas or the holidays with Hanukkah right around the same time as Christmas. K through 12, be on the lookout, be on the alert. This is one of those times of years where they like to mess with the school year, especially coming back to school from the holidays and things being disrupted. But that's about it. Everyone else, 2023 is a good year to start on a cybersecurity program in your business. If you're not employing a framework or doing something along those lines, now's the time to reach out to experts and start getting the planning in place. So you're better this time next year than you were last year, right? And make 2023 the year that you make it harder for cyber criminals to take down your business. See everyone on the next show.
Yep.
Don't forget, share our show.